In Holland, the Dutch Queen Beatrix has decided to abdicate, and that sparked a bit of a debate about the British monarchy. Joining me now, royal historian Kate Williams. Good to see you, Kate. And Vanessa Lamsveld.
Good morning.
And Vanessa is the UK correspondent for the Dutch television news service, RTL News. Vanessa, was this a bit of a shock?
Well, shock. I mean, it's been speculated for, well, we can say 10 years. I mean, it's always like, when is she going to abdicate? But I think it's always surprising when it happens. So, I mean, she was on a state visit just recently, and royal reporters didn't really notice anything then. She was very fit and in a good mood. So, yeah, it was quite a surprise.
Yeah. She says, I stepped down not because the burden of office is too heavy, but because of the conviction that the responsibility for our nation should now lie in the hands of a new generation. Would anybody really object, Kate, if Queen Elizabeth did the same and said the same?
I think it's very unlikely that Queen Elizabeth would do the same. In the Netherlands, of course, there's a precedent. Her mother did abdicate. I mean, her mother was much iller at that point. But they're much more a precedent to the idea that you do hand over the baton, as it were, to her son. Her son, of course, is 45, so quite a bit younger than Prince Charles. But I think Queen Elizabeth is absolutely intent on governing to the end. Even if she is infirm in body, she's going to keep going to the end, because to her, if she abdicates, that's a dereliction of duty. She's been given this job by God, and it's really very like her uncle, Edward VIII, who abdicated to marry Mrs. Simpson. She's never going to do that.
Now, that's very interesting. What would the Dutch impression of that be? That attitude be?
Well, the funny thing is, I, as a UK correspondent, often get the question from Holland, when is Queen Elizabeth going to abdicate? I mean, surely she cannot stay until she dies. But no, in Holland it really is, and the tradition, I mean, it's not set in the law, but it started actually with Queen Wilhelmina. She was the first to abdicate. Yeah. And then Juliana became queen. And yeah, it's for us, it's normal, and it's also... Yeah, to give the new generation, as she says, a chance.
Sure. And Kate, would there be anything actually preventing the Queen from abdicating, or is that her own personal decision?
It is a decision that would have to be discussed with Parliament, of course, and the Commonwealth. It's quite a complicated decision, as of course it was when Edward VIII abdicated. But if she really wanted to do so, it would be possible. And Charles, we let it slip out recently. He said, oh, I might never get my chance. I might snuff it before I get my chance. Yeah. But it's quite interesting about the European monarchies, because we do have a silver monarchy across Europe. Spain, the King of Spain is 75, the Queen of Denmark is 73, King of Norway is 75. So there's an awful lot of people in their 70s and 80s who are governing, and quite a lot of young princes, young princesses waiting to get on the throne and having to wait. So I think this is the question, isn't it? And I think really we can see our Queen going on for, well, she could go to well over 100.
We have our very own princess in waiting here. What have you got to see? You just so knew I was talking about you.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it? If only. No, I was just wondering, Kate, if the way you say that she's got this, huge sense of responsibility in the tradition, would there be any circumstances, do you think, where you could see her making that decision, whether it were for ill health or anything, or is that just not even a consideration?
The Queen herself, she's made it clear that if she's infirm in body, she'll carry on till the end. If she still has her mind, she'll be there till the end. If she begins to suffer some kind of debilitation to the mind, she will consider having Charles as regent, but she will continue. So
she's also very popular, so there's no sort of mood that, oh, I wish she would pack her bags.
But I think a lot of people in Holland wonder, why doesn't she give Prince Charles the chance to be king? Because in a way, the way we see it, it's also a bit sad that he's a king in waiting for so long.
Yeah, a man with no role and all that knowledge wasted.
And it is, of course, I mean, this is what's happening across Europe. We get very excited about our queens and princes in waiting. Of course, everyone's very thrilled by the Princess of Sweden, but we don't know when she's ever going to come to the throne. And I think it's very interesting, of course, isn't it, with Queen Beatrix, her political powers have recently been reduced. They were reduced at the end of last year, because she previously had much more political power than the average monarch, because she could really call the coalition, call the politicians, decide who ruled. And there were suggestions in 2010 that she went too far in choosing who would rule. So her powers were reduced in 2012, and I wonder whether that was rather hurtful to her.
I'm sorry, if that was?
If that was rather hurtful to her, to lose some of her powers.
I don't know if that's part of why she's abdicating.
Because there's been speculation, isn't it, that's to do with her son as well, that her son being in coma.
Of course. Yeah, I mean that's of course very tragic. But we don't know that. But what we do know is that she's 75. She got herself on the throne when she ascended when she was 42. I mean, Willem-Alexander's now 45. So I think, aside from all those things, I think she really thinks this is a good moment to abdicate and to give room
the
to...
next chance.
Yeah,
It's
to
the
give a new
200th
chance.
anniversary of your monarchy, the House of Orange. When does the actual handover take place? What happens? Will there be massive big ceremony for this? Or?
Yeah, and the date is April the 30th. That's when we normally celebrate Queen's
Celebrate
Day.
anyway,
Yeah,
so it's a big party
So it's
in
going to be
Holland
very,
anyway.
absolutely, it's going to be a very special day this year. No, it will be huge ceremony.
A good time to visit Holland.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good.
Party time.
Vanessa, Kate, thank you both
Thank
very much
you.
indeed. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back talking about holiday.